Hello, welcome to the Security Update with me, Hamse Daabjeerin. In this program, we will be covering for you the latest stories that matter security in the African countries from West to Horn of Africa. Ahead of the program, Somalia removes ONLF from terrorist list. Ethiopian government forces forced to crack down on rebellious TPLF forces. Burkina Faso's military seizes power in a coup. Mali demands Denmark to immediately withdraw troops. Welcome to our program. The Somalia cabinet approved a resolution rescinding September 2017 decision by the previous cabinet led by Hassan Ali Khaira to label ONLF as a terrorist organization, declares redemption of ONLF Commander Abdikarim Kalbidaga on August 28 to Ethiopia as illegal. Somalia government has rescinded of its controversial 2017 decision to place the Ogaden National Liberation Front ONLF on its terror list. During their weekly meeting, the cabinet voted overwhelmingly for the resolution seeking delist ONLF. Only one minister voted against the resolution, while another abstained. The cabinet also declared the redemption of senior ONLF member Abdikarim Sheikh Musa, better known as Kalbidaga, as illegal. ONLF has welcomed the Somalia's Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble and cabinet decision to rescind an earlier decision that labeled it as a terrorist organization after nearly 5 years, calling it a historic move and the people in Ogaden will cherish for centuries to come. As the political tension between Farmajo and Roble remains high for the past months, could this be a politically motivated decision? Khader Hail, a Somali political analyst, explains his thought on this matter. But first, he's giving us a very brief background about Aleph.
Thank you, Hamse, for having me this important program. According to your question, Aleph was firstly founded or came into existence in 1984 for continuing the fight against Ethiopia for gaining the self-determination of the Somali ethnic people inhabited in Ethiopia, and gaining the independence of those Somali people. After Western Somali National Liberation Front is supported by Somalia government has lost its support from the Somali inhabited populations in Ethiopia. And during the 1977 and 1978 war between Somalia and Ethiopia governments. The aim behind the establishment of ONLF was to continue the fighting against Ethiopia by the Western National Liberation Front for the self-determination of Somalians under the rule of Ethiopian government, and gaining the independence from Ethiopia. So that during that time, ONLF has executed a lot of operations against the Ethiopian government for realizing the self-determination of Somali people in Ethiopia, and it got Ethiopia with a bloodshed war, which brought the loss of a lot of civilian people and also a huge number of the insurgency troops. On the other hand, ONLF has many times accused Ethiopia that it has made humanitarian violations against the people of Somali people in Ethiopia, where Ethiopia government has refused the condemnation from the ONLF. Finally, ONLF has ceased its existence during the first term of Abiy Ahmed. After Abiy Ahmed and ONLF come on the table to discuss their difference, and then finally handled the issue and recognized Abiy Ahmed in combination with the Somali regional government has recognized ONLF as a political party that it is currently operating, although ONLF has refused or withdrew the last elections in the Somali regional government, but still it exists or it operates as a political party in in the Somali regional government of Ethiopia. Really, as you said, it can be considered as a political motivation between Roble and Farmacho, and according to the decision that the Somali ministerial cabinet has recently enlisted out Aleph from the as a terrorist group, which, as you are aware of already, the Farmacho and Khairi government have recognized it as a terrorist group in 2017. So that this decision was already against that decision, which Khairi and Farmacho has already recognized it as a terrorist group, because the cabinet meeting has recognized that step as unconstitutional and condemned Khairi and Farmacho, the cabinet of Khairi, that they breached the constitution of Somalia. They claimed that there is no any extradition treaty between Somalia and government, so that it was based as unconstitutional. Similarly, as you are aware of, Khairi and Farmacho has handed over Aleph officials Qalbi Dagah to Ethiopia government in 2017, and in 2017, which has created a political uproar among the Somali community in everywhere, and was considered as a political ignominious for the administration for the government of Farmacho and also the cabinet of Khairi. This step or this decision from the current cabinet will be a political ignominious or political ignominious to Khairi and Farmacho, who are both political presidential candidates at the moment. And it is very possible that they will lose a lot of support from the representatives who are electing them to the presidency. So that it will be a challenge to their current ambition to contest as a president, and as a result of this condemnation, it will cause them to lose the contest. This decision will have a positive effect to the security of the region, because at the moment Aleph does not exist as an unarmed organization, and it has recognized it as a political organization in Somali regional government, so that this decision will boom up the relation between the two governments, Somalia and Ethiopia, and also to the people living, to the societies living in both countries. And similarly, according to the decision of the cabinet, and this will, as the cabinet argued, this will enhance the cooperation among the two governments.
Thank you very much, Khader Hail, for talking to CBA and your thoughts on this matter. Let us move on to our next story. Al-Shabaab assassinated former governor of Hiran region of Somalia, Abdurrahman Ibrahim Mau, who was once a member of the Islamic Court Union. Police confirmed 2 men armed with pistols killed him in Mogadishu. Former Islamic Court Union official and governor of Hiran region Abdurrahman Ibrahim Ma'aw was assassinated in Wadaji district of Mogadishu last night. The police chief of Wadaji district said 2 men armed with pistols were behind his assassination. Initial reports say the attack took place as he left a mosque. Al-Shabaab immediately claimed responsibility for his assassination. In 2009, he joined Hizbul Islam, then led by Sheikh Hamse Daabjeerin. Federal government and regional officials condoled the public and his family and asked to be united against Al-Shabaab group that claimed the lives of many government officials and civilians for the last decade. Ethiopia's military has disclosed its plan is to enter the Tigray regional capital of Mekelle and eliminate rebellious forces. This was confirmed by a top military official amid diplomatic efforts to end conflict in the country's north.
Ethiopia's military has disclosed its plans to enter the Tigray regional capital of Mekelle and eliminate rebellious forces. This was confirmed by a top military official amid diplomatic effort to end conflict in the country's northern region. Ethiopia has been gripped by war for more than a year, with the federal military and its allies battling forces loyal to the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF), the political party that controls Tigray. In recent time, two top U.S. diplomats flew into Addis Ababa to push for a ceasefire, release of political prisoners, among other moves. U.S. President Joe Biden, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, and the United Nations Human Rights Office have raised concerns about the conflict and have called for a peaceful resolution. The TPLF says Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister, wants to end the country's ethnic-based federal government system, while Abiy says the TPLF is hungry to seize the national power it once held. For months, there has been an uneasy stalemate between the two sides, punctuated by sporadic fightings. The TPLF forces control most of the Tigray, but are surrounded by hostile forces from neighboring regions of Afar and Amhara, which are allied with the federal military. The conflict, which broke out in November 2020, has displaced millions and triggered widespread hunger.
Burkina Faso's military seized power in a coup, dissolving the government, closing the borders, and suspending the constitution hours after troops detained the country's president. Army officials announced it on state television that the military had taken power. Burkina Faso's army has announced it has deposed President Roch Kabore, dissolved the government, National Assembly, and suspended the constitution, seizing control of the country after 2 days of unrest at army camps in the capital. The announcement, signed on Monday by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry and read by another officer on state television, said the takeover had been carried out without violence and those detained were in a secure location. The country's borders have also been closed. The statement was made in the name of a previous head of entity, the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration, or MPSR, according to its French language acronym. It cited the deterioration of the security situation and what it described as Kabore's inability to unite the nation and effectively respond to the challenges it faces. The army broadcast came after 2 days of confusion and fear in the capital, where heavy gunfire erupted at army camps on Sunday, with soldiers demanding more support for their fight against armed groups. President Kabore's whereabouts was not immediately known. In Burkina Faso, clashes broke out on Saturday between police and demonstrators in the capital. Several hundred people marched through downtown chanting for President Roch Kabore to resign, where eventually he was deposed. But we will be back after the short break.
Making documentaries is one of the most creative, craft and challenging endeavors you can be involved in. It is an effective strategy to inform, persuade, educate, defend the perspective and shed light on various issues, policies and activities. At CBA TV, documentary production is our forte. We capture every TikTok detail of events in highest resolution to tell the story you care about, from politics to human angle, research-based content, educative and informative. We also help you project your story in a dynamic perspective that attracts the world views of the target audience, as there is no better or more powerful way to place the organization's values and achievements than to make an excellent documentary film. No doubt, our strength lies in these ventures, and we pride in many award-winning documentaries which have been earning accolades across Africa and beyond. Let's tell your story.
Welcome back again. In Burkina Faso, clashes broke out on Saturday between police and demonstrators in the capital. Several hundred people marched through downtown chanting for President Roch Kabore to resign, where eventually he was deposed.
Riot police had to resort to tear gas to disperse the crowds who came out to protest against insecurity. Security forces fired tear gas at protesters barricading the streets and throwing rocks in Burkina Faso's capital, as anger grew at the government's inability to stop jihadist attacks spreading across the country. Last Thursday, a government spokesperson justified the decision to block Facebook access in the lead-up to banned protests. Previously, the mayor's office had banned the demonstration planned for Saturday. Burkina Faso's protest comes amid an escalation in jihadist attacks linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State that has killed thousands and displaced 1.5 million people.
The Malian government has called on Denmark to immediately withdraw a contingent of troops deployed to the West African nation as part of an international counter-terrorism force.
The Malian government has called on Denmark to immediately withdraw a contingent of troops deployed to the West African nation as part of an international counter-terrorism force. The military government, which took power in a coup in 2020, said the deployment of about 90 Danish soldiers had taken place without its approval. The government in Copenhagen says it has linked up with the government in Bamako and is working seriously to clarify the situation. There has been widespread international concern about the reported deployment of machineries from Russia's Wagner Group in Mali. The European Union has recently imposed sanctions on the Wagner Group, accusing it of involvement in serious human rights abuses. The government has denied their presence, saying the Russian trainers were in the country to support the national army. France, Mali's former colonial ruler, has recently pulled out of its last base in northern Mali, part of a wider drawdown of its troops fighting extremist militants in the Sahel region.
Authorities in Ghana have started clearing the site of a major explosion that resulted in at least 17 dead and dozens of injured. The explosion happened on Thursday when a vehicle carrying mining explosives collided with a motorcycle in the village of Apieta in western Ghana.
The explosion happened on Thursday when a vehicle carrying mining explosives collided with a motorcycle in the village of Apiat in western Ghana. Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia visited the site on Friday and reaffirmed the determination of the government to assess the situation and send help. The explosion created an enormous crater on the site. Dozens of houses and buildings were destroyed by the blast. The village has a population of about 500 people. The truck was carrying explosives to be used at Chirano gold mine. The Natural Disaster Management Organization is coordinating efforts to assist all the affected residents.
And with that story of the authorities in Ghana started clearing the site of a major explosion that resulted in at least 17 dead and dozens of injured, we'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. This is me, Hamse Daabjeerin.